how have you managed to deal with becoming a 7-figure business owner?
It's really hard. It's really fucking hard. When most freelancers listening to this, or you're in property and you're dreaming about those 10K months, I have to make £50,000 before I even break even.
Why do people need ILAs?
A wife was forced into signing an agreement by her husband.
I challenge you to walk into a high street solicitor and ask them to do an ILA. You're either getting told, we don't do this, it's going to cost a ridiculous amount of money, we don't have the time, we're not that interested, just so many reasons, and it becomes something that we often get unstuck at, to the point where we're like, well, who's going to do this? And you saw a problem within the industry and have created a solution. So what's that solution?
The solution we came up with.
And we are back with another episode of the PBK podcast with myself, Kaz from Property by Kazy, and a very, very special guest. Now, do you know what? For a long time, you've introduced yourself to me as Anastasia, but I've now just found out the correct pronunciation is Anastasia.
Anastasia. Well, no,
But why did you do the accent
Italian tone.
Oh, but
Anastasia.
actually, you're Greek, right?
I'm Greek Cypriot, yeah.
Greek Cypriot. Amazing. And we've got you on here to talk about the amazing topic, the sexiest topic you're ever going to find out about, which is ILAs.
Oh, it's a hot topic. Yeah.
Listen, I know that's the one they've been waiting for. And it's funny because I was like, this is a really important thing for a lot of people in property. But a lot of the time, some of the most important things go unspoken about. So for those that are not familiar, what is an ILA?
Sure. So, yeah, to echo what you're saying, for anyone listening, it is a bit of a boring topic. But as you said, it's really important. So in the property transactions, so that's buy-to-let, bridging facility, as a property developer, you are often asked to go and get ILA. So you borrow in the name of a limited company and the bank will say, thank you, but we need a personal guarantee from you, Mr. Director. Go and get some ILA. Or Mrs. Director, Mrs. Director. Very good. And you'll trot off and try and find that. And historically, it was really difficult to find. You know, you'd call different law firms. They're like, no, can't do it. No, can't do it. Call your broker. You're like, hey, your job is to help package this deal and get me over the line. And no one can tell me where to get ILA, right? So it's classically been quite a problem.
And why do people need ILAs? Thank you to those of you who have liked, shared, commented, but most importantly, subscribed to the channel. Did you know only 28% of people that regularly watch my videos have subscribed? Now we're trying to get that to 40% so we can bring on bigger and better guests and make better content for you. So if you could do that right now, myself and my team would really appreciate it. Now back to the video. What's the rationale behind, obviously you've bought in a limited company, they've asked for a personal guarantee, like what actually is it?
So it stems from case law. Again, really boring. I mean, I'm a lawyer and I think it's boring. So I love running the business. The legal stuff I find boring. So spoiler alert on that part. But from case law called Ettridge v. RBS. So it was case law where a woman, a wife, was kind of forced into signing an agreement by her husband. So that's where this aspect that we call undue influence comes from. So my purpose as a lawyer advising you on a PG is to say to you, are you being forced to sign this? Now you'll be like, no, just give me the money and shut up, stop talking, I want the money. You know, that's what a lot of directors feel like in this situation. But my job is to make sure you are not being forced to enter into it by your co-directors, for example, or your partner, your husband, your wife. And also to make sure you understand the risks of what you're doing. So you, as a person, are separate to your limited company.
And I think that's the crux of it. A lot of people think, well, I'm a sole director. It's my company, my problem. Me and my company are one.
No,
but in
but you're
actual
not.
fact, from a law perspective, completely separate entities. Limited company is here. You were there, so you effectively have to have independent legal advice. That's the acronym. Because I know we were just throwing around ILA without actually explaining what the acronym is, but that's why you have to get them.
Exactly. So first thing is the undue influence. Second thing is, do you know as an individual the risk you're taking? So for usually with a PG, for example, a consequence of that could be that you could lose your own home, your personal home, not the company home. So what's in your best interest is not to lose your family home, your wife and kids, and not going to be happy about that.
Correct.
But not in the company's best interest, because the company wants the money. You are not the same thing Although obviously I understand and appreciate for most developers, you're like, we are the same thing.
Yeah.
Please don't make me do this.
If I go, we all go.
But you got to do it.
But that's it. And from a developer's perspective, like I've put my developer hat on now or investor hat on now. We want to get the deal across the line. We're like, right, yeah, happy to buy this house. I've agreed. If I've agreed, it means the company's agreed and vice versa. However, legally, you need to get that independent legal advice. So you've got your solicitor that will be dealing with your conveyancing process for the purchase, but they're acting on behalf of your limited company, the entity that's buying the property. You as the owner, you know, the bank's saying, well, great that you've got that limited company, but they could go insolvent. They could do anything. We want to know that you, the person who runs it, you, the person with 10 years track record, other assets outside the property, are going to guarantee this. So you've got to sign the PG or the personal guarantee.
Yep.
Now, we're like, fine, I'll sign that. Where's the document?
Yeah.
We come unstuck because you can't act for the same person. So you now got to find a separate solicitor. Walk into a solicitor now on your high street. I challenge you to walk into a high street solicitor and ask them to do an ILA. You're either getting told, we don't do this, it's going to cost a ridiculous amount of money, or we don't have the time, we're not that interested, just so many reasons. And it becomes something that we often get unstuck at, to the point where we're like, well, who's going to do this? And you saw a problem within the industry and have created a solution. So what's that solution?
Spot on. So, I mean, fasting's fast. Hearing you talk about it, I'm thinking, I need to give you a job. You're better at selling this than I am. You know it inside out. Very good. Very good. And a bit of content idea there, being like, I'm going to go into law firms and see if I can get an ILA. But that part aside, so the solution we came up with, as you said, I spotted that gap in that market. As a solicitor, I was getting calls day in, day out saying, you know, I've called 10 other law firms. Can you do the ILA? And I'm thinking, this isn't hard. I can do the ILA. I'm a banking and finance lawyer by trade. It's what I trained in. Fraud, conspiracy, misconduct. So that it was easy to me to read these facilities and give you advice on them. So as you said, spotted that gap. And when we launched it, the idea and the solution is that it's online. So we can do in person, but it's an online offering. So you can book immediately online. So there's a live calendar booking platform that you book your ILA. You don't even need to call us. You can if you want, but you can book online and then you do it over video call. Obviously, when we launched it, there was like a perfect storm happening because COVID had just hit.
Yeah.
And at that point, ILAs were allowed to be over video call. So if I just launched it and it was only in person, I live in Bournemouth. So the developers in the area, there's not many. I wouldn't make a business from it,
Your
right?
market cap effectively would have been local proximity, much like high street agent.
It wouldn't have been a good business model. I would have made very little money. So when COVID hit, and I was like, we can do this online. And my business partner, we're very yin and yang. I'm, you know, kind of take high risks and be like, no, this is going to work. And he said, well, what if it goes back to in person? What are we going to do? I said, what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't go back to in person? We can service the entire world and it will be massive. And lo and behold, here we are. It hasn't gone back to in person. So the solution is over video call. We're available 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because you developers aren't working normal hours. You're not saying I need only 9 till 5. So I try to always get in the head of our customers, which again, I think lawyers really struggle with. They very much are in their own world of, well, we're entitled and you should come to us and we do it our way and you work on our basis. It doesn't work like that in any business providing a service. So 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We also know the requirements of the lenders inside and out. So we'll be able to tell you exactly what's needed, do the video call, sign it off, post the documents, jobs are good in.
And I think like when it comes to business, that's like when I hear people that often come up with really great business ideas, they don't necessarily reinvent the wheel, but they spot a problem in the market. Most money, even as developers, is made from spotting problems, spotting opportunities that other people have missed. So I think if you are at the moment in maybe the conception of a business idea, that's really what you need to be thinking about. What problem can I potentially solve here? And you saw that with a number of things in the availability of solicitors, the times that they're available. Like, for example, today we're filming podcasts. I'm busy 9 till 5, but I do have time from 5 till 8.
Exactly.
But most people, phones are off, can't do business. So you're going to go to the person who does meet the requirements.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing that you've done really well is understanding your market type. So they are people that want to be able to pick up a phone. They are people that maybe they don't even want to pick up the phone. They want to just, I'm on my phone, get it booked in. I know that Tuesday, 4 p.m. I've got my meeting. that's done. I can now go back to doing what I do best, whether that's looking for my next deal, whether that's managing my refurb, or whatever the case may be.
Exactly. And I think like what's made us successful is the way my brain operates in that way. The same as, yourself or anybody else listening to this who's got successful businesses or portfolios. You really got to get in the mind of the person you are trying to target, so to speak, and find a solution to their problem. And particularly in the legal industry, what has done well for me is many lawyers don't think like that. So I always thought, I'm so busy, I'm so hectic. What would I want? So whenever we in our team meetings might say, we're going to stop doing it that way because it's not as good for us, it's not as easy for us. I don't care what's easy for my team, to be honest with you. I care what's easy for you guys.
Of course.
And that's the most important part. So I don't care if the back end, we're kind of like isn't the saying like about a swan or something over water? We're gliding, but in the back end, we're working really hard to make it look like to you, we're gliding. And that's the whole point, really. I think taking away from just the ILA part, which, as we've said at the start, isn't particularly exciting, like, doing ILAs aren't exciting. The business model, however, is, and the mindset that's created it into the position it's now in, it's now a 7-figure business within only 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Because of the volume of ILAs we can do, because it's tech driven. We, essentially, when you book in online, it fires messages to an email to our generalized inbox. It books in with the consultant's diary automatically. So our systems all talk. So the calendar you see is feeding through to 5 consultants' diaries, and it'll pick who's available. So that's why it looks like there's availability at all times to you, because I've made it feed in on purpose. And it pushes, it's nothing, I say it's techie. It's fairly basic. But for law firms, it's not.
No, definitely. Sorry, really... but for those that are maybe just getting into property, I promise you, there is a 90% chance you would rather be friends with a traffic warden over a lawyer. Because
it's true.
Lawyers have no concept, generally speaking, again, there's always exceptions, of inbox zero. They're more than happy to look at 100. And that gets it when I get to it, because that's the culture and the nature of the way, particularly in conveyancing, has been done for decades, for generations. It's the way it's been done. So I think when you have a business that can disrupt a market, it's why you're able to go from 0 to a 7-figure business within 2 years.
Absolutely. And you said about the time factor. Our booking platform, when you go on, the soonest appointment time it will give you is within 2 hours. So you can book it. You go, shit, I was due to complete today. Broker's going, well, you can't actually, Kazy, because you haven't had your ILA. And you're thinking, fuck me, this is going to cost me loads of money. This is a bridge. I need my ILA done. You can come on our platform and an appointment will show within 2 hours' time. If you called in, we might be able to do it within 30 minutes. You'll see some of our reviews that say that.
So what's funny is, this is an episode where my developers are going to be locked in, because they're going to be understanding that game changer. For a lot of people that were having to, like you said, drive down to a solicitor's office, sit on a musty old grey chair, staring at piles and piles of paper files,
no paper files,
waiting to be archived. It's going to be so I can do this
so easy
I can do this on a beach in Ibiza. I can do this and I can get it done.
That's it. I've done it before. And I've had video calls with people in airports where they've gone abroad and their broker, might have forgot to tell them, or the solicitor. It's no one else. It's never anyone else's fault. Everybody will pass the buck. Oh, all of a sudden you need ILA. It's a surprise.
And that's the thing. For me, tech is the game changer. Make it convenient for me. And I know we're going to talk about price point. I know your price point is competitive, but even make it convenient for me. The price isn't the be all and end all. It's the convenience. This year I was buying a property, I think at auction, and I'd gone skiing. Hadn't signed a document, but they had a way where basically I've got to sign the document, but I've got to be on FaceTime to my solicitor who can live see me sign e-sign the document. But I did that with 2 phones halfway up a gondola on the way to go skiing. Because if you can make it work and you can make your lifestyle work around your, your business work around your lifestyle rather than the other way, you're onto a win.
And like you said, right, you can have a good idea. So people, I believe, who run, these businesses, you come and think, shit, that dominated the market really quick. It's usually a gap in the market. So step 1 is the gap in the market. Cool, you come up with that idea, well done. Step 2, however, is you have to, if I just had done it, but done it how everybody else had done it, I was no different to any of the high street firms then that were doing it. And I said, not many of them are doing it anymore, ILA. They've all kind of pulled back on that. But the point is, you have to do it to accommodate the lifestyles of your target audience. You know, the reason why McDonald's does well is because it's I eat McDonald's, by the way, but it's targeting usually...
Yeah, a little fillet of fish.
Yeah.
What's your
not fillet of fish.
Fillet of fish is the best.
I'm judging you so hard.
Oh, fillet of fish.
No, come on, there's got to be a poll on this.
Fillet of fish and a full fat Coke,
oh
apple
my
pie.
God, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
You've gone really down on my estimations.
Why? What do you have?
Quarter pounder of cheese, I think. Got the quarter pounder with gherkins in, isn't it? I love a gherkin.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't eat vegetables.
What?
Yeah, no, we're not going to start this again. This has been a concept too. I don't eat green vegetables.
Why? Are you scared of them? Aren't like cats scared of cucumbers?
Yeah, no.
Are you like a cat?
I'm basically a cat. I'm scared of cucumbers. Lettuce is the worst. But we digressed.
Yeah,
sorry,
sorry,
we're not going to talk about that.
Oh God, were you scared when I walked in my green outfit today?
I was fine, but I did get flashbacks. I've got flashbacks of being forced to eat lettuce as a child.
We were saying, so McDonald's does well because it targets people, to be honest, who would be like quick, a bit lazy. You know, if you look at places like America and stuff, it might be, you know, target audience people who like fast food, maybe a bit overweight, so a bit lazy, and they can go for the drive-through. It's made for that purpose, right?
And I think, but then it's always about, and this is the thing with business, and I think this is why I wanted to get you on, because building, you know, I think you need your flowers for obviously building a 7-figure business over 2 years in a space that isn't naturally sexy. It's not like ILA's, let's talk about that. No. Wow, it's really easy to talk about. But the reason why you were able to grow at such a rate is, number one, solving a problem. But then number two, you don't have to always reinvent the wheel. You've just got to make things that little bit more functional and fit for purpose. And I think it goes for business in general. Like we had Youssef on for last week's episode and was talking about, you know, the rent to rent space. You don't have to come up with a whole new way of renting a property. You can just do it slightly better. So it might be the way in which you engage with your guests. It might be the systems that you use to deal with them. So loads of people now use VAs, but with the increased use of AI, people now have, you know, the AI chat boxes that answer most of the FAQs. So you book somewhere, straight away you get answered the question to where are the nearest restaurants that are answered off the back of utilizing AI. And I think we're really moving into a space where you have to be an early adopter when it comes to tech to make a business viable.
Absolutely. And that's, I think it was actually easy for me in the legal industry because it's so behind. So I've had a massive advantage here, massive advantage.
Now, can we speak about this? I know it kind of is off. Can we speak about the conveyancing process? Can we speak about the fact that we're still dealing with like photocopied versions of leases from 1964?
I know. And this is the thing. So again, like I always joke about it and I say like, you know, signing terms of business by pigeon courier. Like, why have I got to sign it, post it, bring it back to you? Before we even got started, I've got to come in like 4 times to do my ID check. So all our ID checks are like electronically done. You take a picture of yourself. Sometimes we get some weird pictures, like put your top on when you're taking a photo because I can see. Or don't, whatever, you know, whatever floats your boat. So ID verification like that, taking a picture of your passport, terms of business signed, e-signed, you click the button. I don't understand why they're still... we don't have to do it that way anymore. There's actually not a need to. And this is what blows my mind with it, why lawyers won't change that. Because, I mean, I could give you 1,000 reasons why, and obviously I surmise about it quite a lot because it affects my industry. But you're right, like why? Why is it that way still? You know, that things have changed, but they won't move along. And I think they see change as a threat to their current systems or how they operate. There's also a much wider topic, which I won't get into too much, but it's to do with the billable hour as well. So I charge fixed fees. I always knew, even if I was a full service law firm, like we don't do anything else other than ILA, but if I did, I would use fixed fees because the billable hour means when you call me and you want to talk to me, you've got to talk to me. And then I've got to write attendance note, then I have to email you. And then when you email me, you send the documents by post. And I've got to scan them, and then I've got to put them on the file, and I've got to change the name. I bill every clock tick. I press a button. So it doesn't work in my favour to use AI, does it? Because if I'm a law firm, my billable hours are going to plummet. So my bottom line, if I owned that law firm, if you said to me, Anastasia, you know, people in the tech market come into full service law firms and say, Anastasia, the owner of Ttofis & Co., let's say, if I did it that way, there was a reason also why I didn't call it that. I called it ILA on purpose. But Ttofis & Co., we're going to save your solicitors 30% of their time. And by that, you can reduce the time. This is going to think, I don't want to do that because that means my overheads go down. My income goes down by 30%. Absolutely not. That's why.
Yeah.
One of the big reasons why.
No, definitely. And also there's the other side of things that they're also reliant on a lot of public bodies where there isn't the money to completely redo the
Also
land reg
true.
database and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and have it all up to date and not have to deal with hoping to hell that you can expedite, your
Yeah.
registrations, you can get stuff done. But I think it just all goes to show that if you're willing to think outside the box, you can make things work. I always like to have conversations with people about their circle and their network, because a lot of the time, if you are in an industry where there is a status quo of how things are done, what was the initial feedback from people that you knew when you were like, look, I've got this business, I'm only going to do ILAs, and that's what I'm going to do, and I think it's a great idea?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because when I went to launch it, I spoke to a couple of solicitors and I was actually laughed at. Like, people ridiculed me and was like, that's an awful idea. You cannot make a law firm just doing ILA. It will not work. Because to them, they're like, oh, it's just this thing that you do for 15 minutes, charge a couple £100. How are you going to make a viable business from that? And I was like, en masse. If it's the only thing you do and you do it en masse, it will be really successful. And obviously, they're still stuck in, opening files not manually, but, very slow and clunky. So they couldn't see how it could be so quick, so that it makes quite a big profit margin.
Yeah.
So I was laughed at. In fact, when we launched, I remember launching, and a law firm I used to work at, a solicitor there, had been like, they really scoffed at the idea and was like, so basically people just pay you for your signature. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of okay with that, like, haters are going to hate. Whilst you're in the office 20 hours a day, busting your ass, going to court and really stressed, which by the way, I loved doing, and I'm not dissing that. It was more the response back that, like, I was laughed at and degraded. Like, people are just paying you for your signature. You're not even like a real lawyer. And it's like, definitely am a qualified solicitor, and definitely a non-solicitor can't sign that document.
Yeah.
But it was just an easy blow to almost put me down and say, you're not even really giving much advice, because the advice isn't that complicated, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I was really kind of put down. So I had to put my ego aside to be like, because if your ego got to me in that situation, I would have been like, yeah, you're right, actually. I used to work, like I said, fraud, misconduct claims, so important claims. So if I'd let my ego get to me, I would have been like, no, do you know what? I'm going to stay and look like an important person and go to court and do important stuff.
How easy was it to put your ego aside?
Hard, really, really hard, because I think when you become a lawyer, or I mean, a lot of legal people listening to this, but even people in property, it becomes who you are. You're Property by Kazy now. That's who you are. Yeah. So take that. Someone says to you, you've got a really cool idea, but it's not to do with property, and you're about to undo everything you are and who you've become. I'd become this person who, anyone who's watching it and can see this camera, I'm not dressed like a lawyer. I don't look like a lawyer, but I'd wear suits, stiletto heels. I'd go to the high courts of justice with my little briefcase. And I felt important, and I was doing these really high profile cases.
I've never seen.
I'll send you a picture.
I've never seen. I cannot imagine you in a pinstripe suit with a briefcase.
I was. And I'd walk out of court, I'd bow my head and all that kind of stuff. And like...
Okay.
And I felt important. But then actually what I realised was, over time, I felt important. And to other lawyers who you want to have a cock swinging competition, it was like, well, I work for these cases. Well, this is my client. You wouldn't have cared, though, really. Yeah. No one really cares. You care, but no one else really cares. So I had to really go through that thought process of, like, letting that go, because I was like, I also knew once I'd branched into this and I was just doing ILAs for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, it'd be really hard for me to go back. Yeah. Because I would have lost a lot of experience in litigation claims, the claims I was running. So I was like, shit, if I'm wrong about this, I've ruined my life. Really fucked up. So putting the ego aside was hard. It made me feel important. It made me feel like I was worthy. I don't know, what does it make you feel like when you have a purpose? It gave me a purpose every day, and I was about to chuckle that away and not be that important and be laughed at.
And then when was like your real turning moment where you said, this is a thing, like it's working?
Yeah, so when we launched it, as I said, I had all this negative feedback going on, and I had to really stick to it. Stay in your lane and be like, no, I think I'm right. And when we launched, obviously, first day, anyone who's launched a business, you'll know this, 1st of March, 2022, we're live. I put on Instagram, I've got no followers. I don't even have many followers now, and I was like, we're live. And you're like, so?
I think there's there's old videos where it's like, I think it's like an old Mr. Bean sketch where he's like, you can see the build up and he's like, right, opens the doors.
Yeah,
He's just going,
nothing.
where's the crowd? Where's everyone waiting at my door?
No one cares. No one cares.
Yeah.
This is my point, right? No one cared when I was a specialist, banking misconduct fraud. No one cared when I started ILA. So you sit there and you wait for your phone to ring. And I was like, how does the phone ring? Like, how are people going to, obviously I know how people are going to find us, Google, all that stuff. And we use paid ads and all this type of stuff to get it going. And then maybe, I look back at some of the messages between me and my business partner. There was times we weren't taking salaries, and you still have to keep going and believe it's going to work. So maybe it's a good question. 4, 5, 6 months in, we might have started to turn profit. And then maybe under a year in, we started also doing litigation funding ILAs, which also then was additional. So we have the main core business, which is specialist finance work, which we're talking about. And then we started doing funding on litigation agreements as well. So as that all started to come together, I was like...
And just give a little context of what that is.
Sorry, litigation funding. So for claimants who are running, who might have a claim against an energy provider or undisclosed commission claims and finance agreements, quite often they will need funding to pursue their law claim because they can't afford the funding themselves. So they enter into these things called litigation funding agreements where a funder backs their claim, much like a funder backs your or lender backs your project, essentially. Good merits of success, they'll back it. So when they enter into these funding agreements, we provide ILA to make sure they understand exactly how the funding agreement is structured, the risks, implications of it, and that they know what they're entering into. Okay. And that was maybe 7, 8 months in as well. I'd started to bring that sort of work in. So I think when that all started to come in together was when I knew. But I don't think you ever really, I think it's a good thing, but I don't think you ever go, do you know what, we made it. I don't think you ever do. And I think that's the thing as well that I've recently, we were speaking about this outside of it, that's actually will kill you one day as well, because you just keep pushing.
That's the thing about an entrepreneur. Like, an entrepreneur's work is never done.
No.
We're always, as soon as you hit one milestone,
you forget about it, the next.
It's just like, what's next?
Yeah.
And I think it is really important to embrace the little wins along the way, to sit back and actually remember, I couldn't do this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Whether it be, I couldn't afford this, we couldn't have this many staff, I couldn't take this time off, but actually to embrace the little wins, or it's very easy to burn out. I think you touched on something that was important as well, relating to the marketing side of things, because there are a lot of great ideas that nobody has ever heard about. And it's not because the idea wasn't good, and it's not because the person behind it wasn't good, but it's because a great idea can only be great if we know where it is.
That's 100% it. And I always say to people, ILA's biggest hurdle or obstacle is people knowing we exist, because no one else does what we do.
Well,
right?
we know now, right?
Yeah,
so gonna connect today, gonna make sure that.
So that's our biggest obstacle, because as soon as I walk in a room, 9 times out of 10, and I say, "Hi, I'm Anastasia, and I run a business called ILA, and we do this." Brokers, particularly, are like, "Give me your card," So our biggest obstacle is actually people knowing we exist. So I really, really see that in our business. And so how do I do that? Or how does one go about doing that if you're starting a business? Many ways. So we started off with paid ads on Google. And I touched on earlier why I didn't call us Ttofis, Baldwin & Co. My business partner's surname is Baldwin. Is because people were going to search ILA. I need ILA. Yeah. Guess what comes up? ILA.co.uk. So our domain name is www.ila.co.uk, which we also paid $27,500 for before I didn't even have an incorporated company. Nothing. So I had the idea. I drew a logo. There's like a sketch I've got of my logo that I drew. And I was like, okay, well, then we need to be called ILA.co.uk. And this is the domain name we need to buy. And we went to it. It's like owned by a broker. You had to buy it through that.
Right, the early .com boomers.
Who bought it all. The 3-figure domain names as well are worth loads of money.
I think there's like shop.com or something like that is still up now for the millions, and all of these like very generic terms.
Yeah, exactly. And so we went to look at that, and it was $27,500, and I was like, we've got to buy it. And I was already at this point in about 30 grand of debt. I was really bad at managing my funds prior to that. So you're like, well, I haven't got a pot to piss in. I don't know how I'm going to buy this, but we're going to find a way. So we scraped together some money, bought the domain name without I hadn't even incorporated the company. It didn't even exist. So that was important. I knew, again, I was in the brain of our consumers. I was like, what are they going to search? They're not going to say Ttofis and Baldwin because they don't know Ttofis and Baldwin exists, right?
And I think when it comes to like branding, a lot of people get lost in, I've got to create this brand and I've got to do this. But, you know, when you look at, for example, like great examples of like companies.
Yeah.
If you search Richard Branson on Instagram.
None of these companies are called Branson.
But Richard Branson's going to have like X amount, like 4.x million worth of followers. Whereas Virgin, his biggest company, is going to have not even a tenth of that.
Yeah,
and it's because people resonate to when we look at the who, what, why, where. The who is often really important, then the what. But the company really is like, you know, some of the most popular companies. Like if you look at price comparison websites for holidays, like Trivago. I don't know what a Trivago is, but I found them because I was typing in holiday comparison and that's what works really well.
Yeah, and it's like obviously people do use their names, like you've used your name. There's nothing against that at all, particularly in the property market, which is very saturated. Whereas my market wasn't saturated. So the obvious thing was to call myself ILA. So when you're saying back to the question about branding or you know, getting yourself out there, that was my first port of call. So, you know, if you're listening to this and you want to make something dog bowls, probably don't call it Lisa Loves, because your name's Lisa and it might be really sentimental to you, but no one cares. So actually call it dog bowl something. So when they're searching it, it comes up. Obviously you've still got property in your name. And so ILA was that, and then we used the paid ads, and then as you say, it's about the person. So we gave that example a minute ago, it's about the person. So when I walked in today, yourself and the chap you were interviewing before, or podcast before, was like, shit, I didn't, you know, you don't come across like you own a law firm, and that's a vibe, and that's a good thing. And that's really, really important then.
How have you actually found that? Like, have you had, I guess maybe not so much now that everything's more online, but even, I guess, client facing, how do you find not looking like a lawyer?
Hard, really hard. And it's taken quite a lot deep spiritual work to love and accept myself. Like, which again, people find that strange. They're like, you're so loud, you're so outgoing. And it's like, it's quite easy to not put it on, because I wouldn't say I fake it, but it's like, I do that on purpose to encourage myself to do better. And it's like particularly the client facing, I turn up to meetings like this. I'm covered in tattoos. I didn't have them when I worked in a corporate space. I wasn't allowed them. It wouldn't have been accepted. Particularly at networking events, I actually really struggled with that. So probably one of the first networking events I met you at, I used to really struggle, and I look back and I used to see what everyone else wore. I used to copy them. And actually I just look like a shit version of myself. Like, you know, like if you put on like your dad's clothes, it's like you're not actually him. I just would watch what the other girls wore and try and dress like them. And I'd feel uncomfortable. I would just look like a shit version of them because I couldn't quite get it right, because guess what? I'm not them. And I'd go home and I'd feel really crap. I really would. I'd see all these people who just looked great. You know, the property industry is quite showy. So, and everyone wants to kind of be a bit like me. And I'd feel really crap. I really would. Particularly, again, if I walked into a group of people who now people are all my friends, by the way, like you, Lulu, various different people who are now my friends. But when I'd first walked in, I'd go away feeling shit. And it wasn't anything you guys did. It was me feeling different, because I am a bit different. And so I've had to do a lot of work in being like, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to embrace it. Like, I'm going to dress a little bit like a rock star. I'm going to look a little bit different. And actually, it's more of a recent, I'd say actually in the last 6 months, I've really kind of been like, I am me. And that's okay. And I can really I feel better. I feel, and you even said it today, like, you know, you're getting to know me more. And actually that's be more you, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, look, it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, because when you're your authentic self, if people don't like you or dislike you for any reason, it can be very unarming, because you've been yourself.
Nowhere else to go. Yeah,
because
you
it's
are
like,
you.
well, I can't sort of shrug it off and be like, that was somebody else, so it doesn't really matter. It does matter, because it's you. But I think in business, and you know, I always use the example of like, if I listen to some gangster rap, like, I need to believe that you were that gangster. Like, if I'm listening to some Adele Heartbreak, I need to believe that you were going through the craziest breakup, because you resonate to the truth. And if I meet someone and I can kind of tell it's a persona, if it's a facade, it's not their authentic self, it's a lot harder to connect. And because business is so intrinsically linked to people, if you feel that I like this person, that's my person, even if they get the business a little bit wrong, even if like, you know, it's not exactly, you're going to give them a lot more of a wide berth to be like, but I want to work with you. So let's find a way to make it work.
Absolutely.
And I would just leave that with, you know, if you are getting into business, I'm not saying, you know, turn up however you want. There is still like standards in a lot of industries, but try and, where you feel comfortable, embrace being who you are as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, even people who are different to me in the industry, who dress different, look different, despite us being different, we then vibed. It was when I was trying to be, and it wasn't even a conscious choice, right? Of I'm consciously trying to be someone else. It was just that I wasn't quite okay with being me, say.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, from there, people know there's energy. And obviously, again, I'm quite a spiritual being, as aren't we all in some way, you know, but the energy, you can feel it. You can feel when someone's holding something back. And I spoke about it on my Instagram before I came on here. For anyone being like, oh shit, you know, what does a podcast feel like? And it doesn't make you nervous. It used to, only because first time you do anything makes you nervous, right? But now it doesn't. And I think a lot of things people think is like, what if I say something wrong?
Yeah.
You can't say something wrong if it's just you, because you are you.
Yeah.
If you try and engineer an answer or be someone else and it goes down like a lead balloon, or you think, fuck me, that came out really wrong. It came out wrong because you tried to engineer something that wasn't you. So then you were like, oh, I could have picked these 5 answers. 5 of them are false. And I picked option 1. It didn't go down how I wanted it to go down. Shit, I wish I'd picked option 4. But if you're just picking you every single time and being you and saying what's true to you and what you believe, you can't get it wrong, because the truth is the truth. And that's it, really. Say it in business, people can spot that.
I think it's just a great way to be in business. To get back to the business now, obviously 7-figure business is amazing. Like amazing. Like, you know, it's massive growth. But I think, you know, I like a quote. And I'm not really, when it comes to like a Marvel film, so I'm going to go with some Spider-Man. So with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, that's my next tattoo.
Yeah, all down there, like after the stress of building a big business. How have you managed, because how many staff do you have now?
12 of us.
There's 12
Some of them are
you.
consultants, but 12 of us within the team.
And managing that many people, a business that 7-figure business, high turnover, high responsibility, high staffing costs, high overheads. What's your management style like, and how have you managed to deal with becoming a 7-figure business owner?
I at it because actually it's really hard. It's really fucking hard. And I think having got there, and like I said, we've spoken about this outside of this podcast, is once I think a lot of people for their whole life will spend their time on the pursuit of that. And that's what keeps you going, because you're like, I need it. And you get there and you're like, I don't even know if this is what I want. And I don't know if this is what I want, by the way. I wouldn't get rid of ILA. I love ILA, of course, and it's my business, and that's it. But what I mean is, do you want that pressure?
Yeah.
Do you want so the business overheads, we've made some reductions that will come into effect in January, but it's about 55k a month, the overheads. So before I get out of bed, every month I've got to make 55,000 without me taking money.
Yeah. And it's a lot of pressure, right? To know that
massive.
I've got to make £50,000 just to break even, just to make sure everybody else that I am now responsible for
paying bills
gets what they need. So
when most freelancers listening to this, or you're in property and you're dreaming about those 10k months, I have to make £50,000 before I even break even. And would I have been better off then staying as a simple sole trader making my 10 grand a month?
Yeah.
You have to be careful what you wish for sometimes. And I think I was actually speaking to my mum, good old mum, and she said to me, darling, if I told you this, you wouldn't have believed me. My family, I don't come from money, by the way. My family came over from Cyprus and all that kind of stuff. Wasn't their first language and all that kind of thing. So she wasn't saying that to me from lessons she'd learned. She was just saying it from me as a mum, and saying, if I told you that, I don't think you would have believed me. You had to work it out yourself.
Yeah.
And leadership style is I'm working out as I go along.
Yeah.
As I say, anyone who tells you they know what they're doing, we weren't born knowing how to learn a business, run a business. And it's sporadic. Some weeks I'll have weeks where I'm screaming into my pillow crying. Other weeks I think I can take on the world. It's a roller coaster, massively. And is it good for my health? Probably not. No. But because I use yoga, meditation and things, I'm probably better than most. And it still is something that I'm actively currently contemplating what I want, because this isn't as good as it make out to be. It's hard.
It is hard, but I guess it's finding that balance of like obviously the business and getting the enjoyment from the business,
Absolutely.
but also getting the enjoyment that the business and the financial remuneration can give you
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely.
What do you enjoy? What makes you happy?
Space, freedom, time. I've learned that massively about myself. I've always been like, go, 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 go. Like, as I think you need to be to build where you are. But it's time, you know, like that space to breathe. So waking up in the morning and having a coffee and looking outside and just breathing and feeling the wind on your face. And the things that aren't very corporate lawyery, by the way, or business ownery, I guess. But
I think it's like the reverse misconception of business. Like a lot of people get into business to be their own boss because they think I'm going to have all the time in the world because I get to tell everyone else what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always say this about, you know, I want to get into business to be my own boss. Okay, well, first of all, to have freedom, you can, that's a joke. You won't have freedom for a long time. And that's okay. You know, you say it about property, right? Anyone who's saying to you, you know, you can have these Rolex and Lamborghini within a year, they're talking shit. It's going to take you a long time. And so maybe the freedom will come. I've gone through that 2 years of growing a business very quickly. I'm now refocusing, and maybe in the next year, it will carry on doing what it's doing. Might not keep growing as quick as, you know, upwards, but I will slow it down, maybe take some space, maybe regain that freedom, right? So working for yourself and starting your own business, it doesn't just give you that freedom. Actually, it's worse. When you work 9 till 5 and you check out and you go home, you have your dinner at 6:30, you might watch some EastEnders, go to play paddle if you're Kazy. Obviously, you play paddle anyway, so yeah, it's all right. But it's not like that when you're in your own business, because actually to make it, you've got to be mildly obsessed. I'm obsessed with my business. Again, I'm trying to change that because I don't think it's good for you in the long run. But to make it launch, grow, and take off, you've got to be obsessed. So you're working 24/7. It's in your head 24/7. You need to find mechanisms to turn off. You do. And then, you know, I spoke about this to someone else before. You know, I don't want to work for anyone. You work for yourself. So if you thought that boss was an asshole because they were short-tempered, try being in your own head all day.
Yeah.
Like, you are now the driving ship. You are now your own boss. So if you're stressed, you're tired, remember that boss that you work for, and you think he comes into work and he speaks to me like shit, tells me I haven't reached my deadlines. Jesus, I'm worse to myself than that boss was to me. I'm harder on myself.
Because there's nowhere to hide in your own head. There's all the excuses that you would have made to your boss. You know the answers already.
Yeah, it's
so you have to face them. You're literally looking in the mirror every day and saying, yeah, that I'm too tired. So what?
It's not a choice. And then, but then there's both sides of it, right? So you've got that side, you know, I'm too tired, don't want to, give yourself a kick up the arse and get on with it. So you've got that one side, and then you swing. It's like a pendulum. You swing the other way, which I've been swinging to recently, where I don't stop. I said, you know, I was with my partner the other day, and he said to me, we're at the beach. We live right by the seaside. He goes to me, do you want to go in the sea? And I looked at him, and I said, no, it's just another thing on my to-do list, and I can't be fucked. What the hell? Like, we're very good communicating, so I'm very open. It sounds like I said a mean thing, but I was like, I just can't, darling. I just can't. Get home, and I start crying. He's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I didn't want to become this person where, so you swing from one side to the other, where can't be bothered, don't want to do it, and that's not good enough, by the way, because you've got to. And then you swing the other side, where you're obsessive, you've got no time for anybody, and I don't want to be that person either. So I'm stuck in my head.
And I think it is. But for context, I do feel like it's a pendulum that eventually slows down.
100%.
And you find your equilibrium in the middle. But
that's it.
Unfortunately, like, some people are really blessed and they get there really early, and some people have to go through the motion to find their comfort zone of, I was able to outsource, I was able to let go a little bit, but I was still able to put the things in place that meant we continued growing. I found a trajectory that works for me, and that's really what it is. It's all about finding out what works for you, where your sweet spot is, and then living in that space.
Everything you're just saying now is spot on. I think that's where I've got to. Like, and because it happened so quickly, right? Again, most people might have got to a 7-figure business within 5 years. They've had 5 years to work out this shit. We hit year 2 in March, and I think we were already 7-figure before then. So within a year and a bit, I've had to do that, and that's I think everything you've just said there is exactly it, and the message that people should be hearing. It's like, these are the cold realities of it, and I try and be really transparent on that. And then you're right, you get to the point where you go, neither one of these quite works for me, and I want to find somewhere in the middle where I can enjoy the fruits of my labor. And I'm not being lazy isn't an option for people like us, because it doesn't make me happy either. To say sit around and do nothing doesn't make me happy either. I'd go mad.
Like that's the thing. It's like sometimes I'm so burnt out and I'm so tired, and you can probably see it on my, like, I'm tired, but it's like, if I get to a day where there's nothing in my calendar, like I look at it and I feel so uncomfortable. I'm like, what's happening here? Like, I genuinely, like, I'll actually get like borderline anxiety. I'm like, I don't get this. This isn't a space that I live in. But it's all personal growth, and it's all about learning yourself and who you are. It's been amazing having you on today. I think we've taken the conversation. Obviously, we've spoken about the ILAs, but if people want to get to know you a little bit, maybe see a little bit of the ILAs, but a bit more of the yoga, bit more of hopefully some wusa, how can people connect with you?
So my Instagram handle is Anastasia_biz_alchemy.
Yeah.
So connect with me on Instagram, try and post a lot of my stories, content on there. And yeah, hopefully connect with a few people from here. Let us know what you thought, and share the love and support.
Amazing. Well, that has been another episode of the PBK podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you've enjoyed it, share it with a friend so they can get some equal value out of the episodes. We are going to be back each and every week. Anastasia's details are going to be in the bio, along with the details of her company. So if you are looking for an ILA, super conveniently, straight to the point, you can reach out to her, and we'll be back next week with another episode.